Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is Stage 5 of Tour of Romandy 2025. If you watched yesterday's Stage 4, the only summit finish here at Tour of Romandy, you know Lenny Martinez is in the race leader's yellow jersey. Now, much like Lenny Martinez was, if I back the film all the way up to 2006 and 7, especially 2007, I was wearing the race leader's yellow jersey starting the individual time trial on the final stage of Tour of Romandy. If we go into yesterday's 4 tactical battle with Lenny Martinez against the 2 UAE team members of Jay Vine and Almeida, I can tell you Lenny Martinez was spotless. He tactically rode it brilliant up the last 21 kilometers of yesterday's Stage 4, and then he took the front and the lead there with Almeida coming into the last 100 meters bend there with a left turn, let it out, won the stage, and took the race leader's yellow jersey to start today's individual time trial. But if you woke up this morning, you got to know that there's multiple stories here to look at before the cameras come on proper that I want to cover. Lenny Martinez should be, of course, going for a podium position here at Tour of Romandy. Much like I was when I had the race leader's yellow jersey in 2007, I knew for sure that I wasn't going to be able to beat Thomas Dekker in the individual time trial, so I was just happy to get the race leader's jersey on the stage before and start the individual time trial trying to get myself a top 5. So with that in mind, Lenny Martinez is thinking the same thing, but we got a ton of other stories because you have Almeida that has a chance to win the general classification. He's in 3rd place on the GC right now, 3 seconds behind Lenny Martinez, and you have Jay Vine at 32 seconds back in 4th place. That's a story right there for the 2 UAE Team Emirates riders to see what kind of fitness they have before they start going on vacation after Tour of Romandy finishes here on Stage 5. But the other big story has to be Remco Evenepoel. We saw him start the season hot in 2025 when he won Brabantse. Then we saw him at Amstel Gold go good. We saw him start to fall apart at Flèche Wallonne, and then we saw him completely fall apart at Liège-Bastogne-Liège. He came in here at Tour of Romandy as their favorite rider to win the general classification for Soudal Quick-Step, but we found out on Stage 2, even though he had good legs, his words, not mine, they tactically messed up dramatically and let 5 riders go up the road. Remco Evenepoel still said after Stage 2 that he had good legs and good form, and he won the sprint for 6 on that Stage 2. But then, again, when we go back into yesterday's Stage 4 summit finish, where Remco Evenepoel fell apart and lost 1 minute and 29 seconds to the stage winner Lenny Martinez and Almeida up there from UAE Team Emirates, we know Remco Evenepoel's not in good condition. So the highlight has to be on today's stage. If Remco Evenepoel can win the stage, well, it means he's in okay condition, but it does not mean he's in brilliant condition because he's a time trial specialist. Time trial specialist that I have found throughout my career when I was racing 25 years professional, that if you're a time trial specialist, you can always time trial good. Now, if he was to go outside the top 5 of a field like we see here at Tour of Romandy, where really there's 3 time trial specialists here, Almeida, Jay Vine, and Remco Evenepoel, Stefan Kuhn possibly. We look at Alberto Bettiol. He's a pretty good time trialist. We wonder what some of the other riders might do, but we don't see any other real time trial specialists here. So if Remco Evenepoel cannot beat the next 2 riders from UAE Team Emirates and he was to finish 3rd at today's stage, well, he'd still have pretty good, decent form. It's not bad, but let's say he finishes 6th, 7th, or 8th, or outside the top 10, that would be disastrous here at Tour of Romandy for Remco Evenepoel. Because when I describe the course, it's 17.1 kilometers, we'll call it about 10.5 miles in length. It's a technical course. It'll start with a bump leaving the ramp and then have a hard left turn at the top, technical descent shortly after that with hard rights, hard lefts, then you come out along the lake. They're racing here in Geneva. They have a bump with about 2/3 of the way to go in today's course, and then it's technical and again wide open courses all the way into the finish where they'll finish out the 17.1 kilometer course. But again, if you're Remco Evenepoel, you got to have some kind of legs and at least be able to podium here at today's Stage 5 of Tour of Romandy, or this could mean that his form is dramatically dropping. So let's get a little bit further into the race when the cameras come on proper, because we know it's Alberto Bettiol up there from Astana that's going to be in the hot seat at a time of 20 minutes and 51 seconds, where he went 15 seconds faster than the next best rider. But again, this is Alberto Bettiol, and we still have the time trial specialist coming at near the finish of the stage. If we start looking at Remco Evenepoel, when he's leaving the ramp in 9th place at the general classification, he's 1 minute and 41 seconds back from Lenny Martinez. We see that he looks fine as he starts off blazing off the ramp and going through all the corners, setting the pedal in the right position as he's going to the left or the right. The outside pedal is always set perfectly as Remco Evenepoel's diving through the corners. When he comes up to the first check, he's 10 seconds faster than the time of Alberto Bettiol from Astana, and we see him blazing in his TT position throughout most of this course. Anytime he wasn't going through the corners, he's looking fantastic in his TT position here with his gold bike. As he flies across the finish line today, he puts himself in the hot seat, 18 seconds up from the time of Alberto Bettiol from Astana. But remember, we still got Jay Vine back there. We still got Almeida to be able to leave the ramp. Lenny Martinez has to find out if he can hold a podium spot here. And Lorenzo Fortunato started second on the general classification, only 2 seconds back from the time of Lenny Martinez. Well, he's going to be battling for top podium places here too when it's all said and done. But as we start looking at some of the other riders leaving the ramp, it's Carlos Rodriguez that I want to show leaving the ramp, and he'll come across the line in 15th position at about 51 seconds back from Remco Evenepoel. That starts setting the precedent right here. Carlos Rodriguez, again, not a time trial specialist, but 51 seconds is a lot of time in 17.1 kilometers to lose to Remco Evenepoel, who we know after yesterday's stage 4 is not on his best condition right now. So this starts showing us that Remco Evenepoel has a solid time. We start looking at some of the favorites leaving the ramp. Jay Vine is next up. He's sitting 4th on the general classification. He's got to make up 32 seconds on Jay Vine. When he flies off the ramp, he's looking pretty solid, but when he crosses the finish line, we're going to look at Jay Vine at 23 seconds back in 3rd place behind Remco Evenepoel in the hot seat and Alberto Bettiol. So we know Jay Vine is fighting for a podium position right now at 23 seconds back from Remco Evenepoel and further up on the general classification, of course, than Soudal Quick-Step rider is. Now we start going up to the time right now of Almeida, who's leaving the ramp. Almeida's looking fantastic up there as he's flying off the ramp and powering up the slide uphill, going through the left turns. Then when he comes up to the first time check, he's 11 seconds back from the time of Remco Evenepoel in 3rd place. Now Almeida's still flying up there on the pedals, but cannot make up enough time on Remco Evenepoel as we see the Portuguese rider from UAE Team Emirates fly across the finish line, 11 seconds back in 2nd place. But most importantly, he's in the hot seat for the general classification. Lorenzo Fortunato, he left the ramp and he's setting the time through the time checks. He's losing time throughout this course, and he's going to come across the finish line 1 minute and 35 seconds back from Remco Evenepoel. So Lorenzo Fortunato's not winning the general classification for sure, but we start looking at Lenny Martinez, the Bahrain victorious rider who won yesterday stage 4, as I already told you. He's looking pretty solid on the pedals, but again, when he crosses the finish line, he's 41 seconds back in 13th place. This will bump him out of the race leader's yellow jersey, and Almeida will win the general classification here at Tour of Romandie. But there's more stuff we have to discuss here, because when we start looking at the interview of today's stage winner, Remco Evenepoel, well, he talks about today being a perfect day and everything went right to win the time trial. This needed to happen, but this is not a surprise from Remco Evenepoel. When we start talking about 17.1 kilometers, the time trial, and he's the time trial specialist, this is what Remco Evenepoel should have achieved. Okay, if he went 2nd or 3rd on today's stage, it wouldn't have been a catastrophic difference because Almeida at 11 seconds back went a solid time here for UAE Team Emirates. But Remco Evenepoel's form, when we're talking about the 2025 season, with that huge dip starting at Flèche Wallonne, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and then continuing here all the way up to stage 4, this stage 5 victory is not a surprise, but it's not a tell-all sign that, of course, the Belgian rider from Soudal Quick-Step is riding on great form. Now, afterwards, we're going to see behind the press ceremonies that Almeida and Remco Evenepoel is going to have a little discussion, and Almeida is going to say, enjoy your vacation to Remco Evenepoel. This is a crucial moment right here, and I believe tactically something that Remco Evenepoel absolutely has to do. He has to take a little break right now. Whatever has the dip in his form, dip is the word he used it, it's a drop in form, there's no doubt about it, since Flèche Wallonne. What he's experiencing right now in his interviews after stage 2, where he said he felt good during stage 2, so he was saying that he thinks his dip is gone. Then after stage 4, he says in his Instagram post, of course, that, well, it went as expected. Well, as expected, at 1 minute and 29 seconds back, is not you're coming out of your dip of Liège-Bastogne-Liège, if we use his words. So right now, what he's feeling is something inside the body that does not want to push to the maximum levels. You're like, Chris, you just won the individual time trial. The individual time trial was 17.1 kilometers long. It is not the same kind of effect of doing 100 miles or 160 or 170 kilometer K and then going up the final climb and battling against some of the best riders in the world that we see here at the Tour of Romandy in 2025. So the time trial at 17.1 kilometers, and even when you look at Remco Evenepoel's interview, he looks quite a bit fresher than we see at yesterday's stage 4 finish up the summit climb, where he looks a bit more devastated. So when we go back to those two discussions, Almeida and Remco Evenepoel, vacation is what I believe 100% Remco Evenepoel needs. Now he's got to be careful. The calories can't be too much, they can't be too little, so that he can recover, but he needs to not be on the bike at least for a few days so he can get the body to reset itself. I do not believe in any sense of the word that he's overtrained and came into Evenepoel training too hard and then fell apart, or the opposite. I do not believe he's undertrained, came into Evenepoel with fantastic form and won against Wout van Aert and then caught Tadej Pogacar at Amstel Gold. Something happened between Amstel Gold and Liège-Bastogne-Liège that caused the Belgian rider to have a huge dip in form, that only a bit of a vacation and some time off the bike followed by a few easy days of riding on the bike are going to help Remco Evenepoel recover in time so that the Belgian rider from Soudal Quick-Step can get back to Dauphiné with some good fitness. Remember, Dauphiné is not that far away. What do we call it? Month and a half time? So after you take 1 week off, maybe 10 days off, if you count the 2 or 3 days off, another week easy of riding, all of a sudden we're talking about 5 weeks before you start getting into Dauphiné. So Remco Evenepoel has to be very careful with how he goes about his rest period now here after Tour of Romandy Stage 5. It was a great victory, there's no doubt about that. And Almeida took a fine overall general classification here for UAE team members. But Almeida even said in his interview that he wasn't 100% here at Tour of Romandy. Now what does that mean? That doesn't mean much either because, of course, he won the Basque Country just a couple weeks before we get here at Romandy. So for sure, he probably would have taken a little rest from the Basque Country, came in here just a little bit rusted, and found the way to win here at Tour of Romandy. Of course, he lost stage 4, the finish there to Lenny Martinez. But the time trial legs, again, always appear when the time trial needs to for time trial specialists. So we see Almeida in the race leader's yellow jersey when it's all said and done. Lenny Martinez is up there, and Jay Vine is up there on the podium. We started looking at the team classification. UAE Team Emirates won that. Ben Zwayoff wins the KOM jersey. Jay Vine took a stage victory here at Romandy, and he'll take the points jersey here when it's all said and done. So UAE Team Emirates come out with the general classification, the team classification, the sprint jersey, and a stage victory here at Tour of Romandy to show why they are the #1 ranked team in the world. When it's all said and done, though, Romandy is wrapped up. That means the first 1/3 of the season is finished here, and riders are going to start going on vacation after the 25 edition of Romandy, unless, of course, you're getting ready for the Giro d'Italia that starts soon. So hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll start covering the Giro d'Italia preview coming up here soon. And then, of course, we see if the other Slovenian, Primož Roglič, can win himself another Grand Tour here at the Giro d'Italia coming up, or is it going to be UAE Team Emirates? They showed here, of course, at Romandy that they're still strong even without being on their best form. But once we get into the Giro, we got Juan Ayuso battling against Primož Roglič. So I'll see you guys on the next previews here for the Giro d'Italia real soon.